Welcome to part 2 of how I use SketchUp in my architectural practice. Steel framing construction, and we're going to be talking about the foundation in this video, as well as the structural grid. So we'll get started. We're going to create the structural grid first, so we'll head over to a blank screen and see where we can go from there. Building is going to be 32 foot by 60 foot, and we're going to keep this simple, so I'm not going to get crazy on you. I'm going to do a rectangle. R is the shortcut. Drag this out, not drag it, pull it. 32 feet, comma, 60 feet entered on the keyboard and hit enter. And we'll get a rectangle. I'm going to flip this over so that it's white on that side. So right click, reverse face. That's a good idea if you're ever going to 3D print to work, with your outside face outside. Going to take and make this whole thing a group so it doesn't get stuck to anything else. And I want to take and divide this into a 3-compartment grid by a 2-compartment grid. So I'll go ahead and make sure. And I'm just going to draw lines. I'm not going to make sure of any damn thing. Midpoint and group, this is going to be dividing in half, so these should both be 16 feet. I'll just take the tape measure and check it. Yes. Okay, and going the opposite direction, we're going to take and do a guideline at 20 feet and another one at 20 feet. A lot of different ways to do this. It's simple enough this way. I'm just going to go ahead and draw lines over these guidelines. So that gives me my 20 foot by 16 foot grid. So 20 feet this way, 16 feet this way. It's always good to measure from a corner, and you can go out different ways so you can kind of check your dimensions quickly just by moving the mouse around to different points. I use guidelines. If you don't know how to use guidelines, then it's a tape measure tool to make that work. So T for tape measure, and if you want a guideline coming out at any distance, you can pick a edge that's in the parallel to the direction you want your guideline. So I'm going to make this 4 feet. So I'm just dragging it out, let go of the mouse, typing in 4 feet all the way around. This is for a space that I want to create for the symbols for the grid. 48, 4 feet, 48, either way. I'm just going to take a line tool and go ahead and draw these lines in. These are where, the end of these lines is where we're going to put circles or symbols to put the lettering and numbering in for the grid. So just pull these out. They're going to be separate from the rectangle that's there, which is good. It's what we want. We want this grid to be separated from that rectangle. Rectangle is just kind of for reference. So there are our extensions. These lines are also separated. So what I'd like to do is now add some symbol circles. So type of C for circle. And I'm going to go in here and pop that on there. On the end of that extension, type in 12 for a 12-inch radius on the circle. Take that extra piece out or eliminate that face. And I'm going to array this. So it's move, control for copy. Go down to the next grid line and type in 3x. Actually 2x. So I'm making an array. I made one too many. So it's always one more than what you want. One is the first one, 2, 3. Okay. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world. If you put in one extra, you just erase it, but just so you understand how that works. And we'll do a circle again over here, 1 foot, erase the face, that extra line, and we'll do move control again for a copy. Basically, when you do this, if I type in now 3x, I'm making an array. So similar to AutoCAD array, this is the same thing. I think it actually works better, to tell you the truth. It's easier to deal with. You don't have to guess at spacings and things of that nature. They're all done on screen. It makes life a lot simpler. Okay, so that rectangle, as you recall, is a group by itself. So I can't actually pick it by mistake. So I'm going to select all of this stuff that we just drew with the rectangle, and then I'm going to hold control and pick the last part of it. And I did that on purpose so I didn't pick any extra part of this rectangle. I don't want that to be part of my grid. So I'm going to right click on that and pick make group. So now my grid's on a group. It's a group grid. Anyway, all comedy aside, I should be a sit-down comic. Anyway, I got to put numbers and letters in this thing, and the only one I've found that works and doesn't jump all over the place on you when you put text in is the 3D text. So click on that A over there, you'll get this window that says Place 3D Text. Don't use that text, that's the default. We'll put in an A here. So just type A, it'll default that text out of there. And hit Place. So we'll put A in here, zoom in. In order to place these nicely, you go to a top view and make sure you're in parallel projection. So what we're in now is literally a plan. And it makes it simple to move things around. I know it's a 3D drawing, but it's a lot easier to do this, say, for furniture, things of that nature like this. I want to make these a dark color. So you can fill these in. They are a component. This kind of 3D text is a component. So you can just drop the color on it and it will paint the whole thing. Unfortunately, you have to do each one individually because you can't edit a 3D text. There is, I'll take that back a little bit. There is somebody out there who has a extension that will do that for you. I haven't tried it. I think it's been around a while, but doesn't seem to be wildly popular. 3D text again, here we go. And we'll type in a C. These are capitals, whatever you want to make them, but I use capitals. Usually a nice clean font, not one that's all complicated, but you can do literally any font that you have in your computer you can use. And we'll go up on this other side and do numbers. Again, 3D text. If you see here, it says font, you can hit this pull down and every font that you've got in your world is in this particular window. So whatever's in your computer, you've got right there. I'm going to close this so I don't mess with this inadvertently. Just wanted to show you how you can change the font. Like I say, any font that you have in your computer, you can use. They always come out basically in outline. And they are actually three-dimensional. I'm going to rotate this. You see the little red X's? That's a place where you can rotate something. Usually it's move that shows up with that particular situation. So you have the option to move something and rotate it all in kind of one breath. put in 1. I think I'm going to move that over just a little bit more. I'm fussy like that. Okay, and then paint it. And we'll do the rest, might as well. 3D text, you're going to see how to put 3D text in about 1,000,000 times, I guess. Let's see, 2, I guess, is what we want. Place 2. Again, getting close, you can see those red arrows. You just grab one, rotate it. It's all set for you. You don't have to really do anything except find the red X's. So that's what the move tool, when you go in and do something like this, it gives you the opportunity to rotate it immediately. Oh, that wasn't too good. That's what I told you not to do. Okay, so this is 3. Place 3. Rotate 3. It'll tick in on 90 degrees for you, so it's not really, you don't have to think about it too much. You want to rotate something 90, which is not the least unusual part of this. I think that's probably the most common. Last one. 4. Place. Zoom in. That's pretty good. I'll color that one. So we've got all our grids. I'm going to add some other lines here real quick. So I need to get into this group. That's the grid group, as you're aware of, the grid group. I'm going to bring some lines up in these couple corners. There we go. I believe there's one over here as well. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to eliminate the guidelines, which for me is a J. You can also go to View. Let's see, where is it? Oh, guides. View, this turns the guides off. Sorry, there's a couple ways to do this. Turns the guides back on. So if you want to wholesale them, you can. And this just puts them in limbo for a minute. So if you don't want to lose them, that's where you'd go. View guides. And do the same with axes if you want. But I don't really recommend doing that. Create some problems for you. Then you can go camera. Edit. That's what it is. Edit, 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 edit. Edit, delete guides. So this eliminates them all. If you look at this, there's a J over here in this window. And that's my shortcut. And you'll see that in all your windows, that if there's a shortcut, it's going to show up along the right edge of that window. So I'm going to just type in J and eliminate that. I do that because I use a lot of guidelines and it makes it easier to just eliminate them. You can erase them if you prefer. That's another option for you. Okay, so we have everything except for the numbers, it looks like, in that group that we want for the grid. And I think I'm going to put them in there. And I'll show you this nifty little trick. It's not hard to put things on the wrong tag. So select them all, hit Control X, which is cut. Then get into this and click on the grid and pick Edit, Delete Guides. No, not Delete Guides, I'm sorry, Paste in Place. And for me, I've actually made a shortcut for that as well, D, because I use this quite a bit. So I'm just going to click on that. What happens is all the things that I picked are moved from outside that group to inside the group. So what I did is I picked the group that I wanted it to go into, and then hit delete, paste in place. So there's our grid. Right now it's untagged, but it is a group, and this is the way we should do this. We should have a group before we tag it. So everything in here now, other than the rectangle, you can see that's separate. Other than the rectangle, this is all on what can be a layer. We're going to call it grid. And I think I have already a layer called grid in this drawing. Yes, I do. So I'll go up here. This is a tag title, tag toolbar. I'm sorry, it's a tag toolbar. And it is the same as entity info over here. So it depends on what you want to do. You can see they both say untagged. If I go in here and select grid in the drop down, which this is what I prefer. Now, if you notice the grid disappeared, that's because this radio button is not clicked on, so grid is turned off. We'll click on it, grid's back on. If you notice too that grid has a dot dash line type, and that it was applied as a property to these lines immediately. So if you want to change those, you go to default, just click on the default category or column here, and you have, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 different line types. So what's happening is the line types are associated with a tag, and that's what just happened. I put those lines on grid. The grid has a tag, a line type of dash dot, which is kind of a center line, and that's what I wanted for the column grid. This is in parallel projection right now, so it's a little funky to look at, but we'll go ahead and change it so that we're in parallel projection, or excuse me, perspective. Click on camera, perspective. I prefer to draw in perspective, and I don't know, just my eye fits it a little better. So for the foundation, all we really need is a path, which this rectangle down below is going to represent for us, and a profile. So if there's our grid, that's pretty much done. Our profile for the foundation is going to be just a stem wall and a footing. So if we want, we can draw this anywhere. I'm going to just start drawing it out in space. Staying on the red axis, that's the way I want to go. If you ever have a problem with staying on axes, you can use the arrow keys. For example, here, if I use the arrow key for the red axis, that's the right arrow key. It'll stay on red. If I use the left arrow key, it'll stay green. And the up arrow key will be blue. The middle down arrow key doesn't make a lot of sense here right now unless I was holding it, was putting the line onto something. I use pink. See what happens is if I rotate through it, it cycles. That's perpendicular to and parallel to. So all the arrow keys do something with lines. They create an inference for you to stay on axes. So we're going to draw this profile line on the red axis. I'm just going to draw on the red axis. 10-inch foundation, so I'm going to draw 10. I'm going to go down 3'2", so 38 inches. Come out 5, half the foundation wall thickness. You'll see it says on blue axis, that where the cursor is, so that gives you a hint that you're doing things right. 10. We'll go 20, I think would be the right number. Yep. I'll just reference that. I'll go up 10. Come back 10. No. 5. Come back 5. Back up to 10. So that is basically our foundation wall and stem wall footing. You could divide this into two pieces if you wanted by drawing a line. If you like to have that in the drawing when you're done later, you can do that. I I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. You can put it in as one piece. I usually do one piece, so I just have one, just the perimeter of this. So that's the profile of our foundation. I'm going to triple click or double click and just make a group out of it for right now. Can't push pull a group, or I mean follow me a group, but we'll eliminate that here in a minute. I do that so I can move things around easily. I'm going to take this one and put it over here on this edge. So you see what's happening is that this foundation wall is halfway on the edge of the building. So I got half of it out and half of it under. So the center line of the column grid here is running down the center of the stem wall. That's where our columns are going to sit eventually. So I'm going to explode this now so that I have a pieces and parts thing. I'm going to actually what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take the profile and Control X, which is cut. So I want to move it to this other layer. Control X. I'm going to double click on this stuff. I'm going to pick that line in particular and then do paste in place, which for me, I made a shortcut, which is D. So now I'm inside this group and I can make this profile inside the foundation the foundation profile. I can make this footing profile inside of that group. So I'm going to just pick that surface for our path. So follow me needs a path, so a surface can be a path. Pick the follow me tool, which for me is a W, again, a shortcut. And you just pop it in. So all I did was, the process is put the profile in, pick the path, pick the profile and let her go. Once you hit follow me, you'll have something that's going to kind of be amazing, to tell you the truth. This kind of hollowed out on the top, so I'm going to draw some diagonals in on the corners. And it usually fills it in, which it did. So what we have now is a foundation. I'm going to triple click on this. And I want you to notice that only the things that are not in that group, or that are in that group, are being selected by doing that. So select, that's the group. I want to get inside that group. I triple click on it, or double click actually. Double click, and I'm inside that group. The reason I want to do that is I want to get rid of these lines here. And that's up to you. I mean, I'm kind of a neatnik, so I like to get rid of extra lines. The foundation is also outside in, or inside out, however you want to say that. I'm going to triple click on that, and you'll notice that the grid, all of the grid is ghosted. So that means I haven't picked it. I'm going to right click and reverse face. And I'm going to do the one in the middle again, reverse face. So I got them both. For some reason it didn't want to fix that one either, so reverse face. I like to have it correct. That way it's easier to know what you're looking at. This is the outside face. I'm just escaping out of that particular situation by hitting Control Z. The foundation is essentially done, except for one thing. There's probably no thickness to this foundation slab. And you can tell that by double clicking or whatever on the one side of the slab. And if you can see that highlighted on both sides, you know there's no thickness. So push pull. I'm going to tap Control to keep the outside face there. When you push pull, sometimes you can eliminate the original face and have to go back and put that back in. So if you tap Control, it basically copies the first face and allows you to drag a copy out, if you will. I'm just going to reverse this face again. Follow me, and push-pull can do some rather interesting stuff to your faces, so keep an eye on that. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's the foundation, the slab, the structural grid. I'm going to put this in a plan view. This is the blue axis. That will tell me that I'm not in parallel projection, because if I were, I wouldn't see this blue axis at all. I'm going to go to camera, parallel projection, and this has got me a floor plan, or at least a plan of the foundation. I guess that's a floor plan. Right now, what you're seeing is the foundation wall. That's the one side of the footing, the grid, the slab. The whole thing is one big group for the concrete and another group for the grid. If I can get it. There we go. So there's the grid for the group grid, and here's this foundation. Sorry, I just can't resist. That's it. Should be rather simple. Now, if your building is more complex, obviously that's going to take a little more time. Before we're done, I want to make a scene, and it's already here, called Plan. I'm going to right click on this and update it so that this particular setup is it's saved in a scene. Sorry, it's getting late. So I can go back to it at any point in time. So to fix this as part of that scene, I right click on the scene tab and pick update. Anytime you correct something that's part of a scene, make sure you pick update, because it's frustrating to some people that get to the point where they think they've updated the scene by drawing stuff. I've had people say, well, I saved the drawing. I said, well, that's not it. You have to save the scene. So right click, update. Whatever scene it is you want to update, you have to do that. This can get a little repetitious. Sometimes you have to update several scenes in order to absorb all the changes you just made. That's it. I'm going to go back to the other screen in a minute, and we'll be done for today. We'll get on to part 3 here shortly. Have a great day. I'm glad. Thanks for coming by, and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. Thank you very much, and have a great day.